When Chris Paul went down with a hamstring injury earlier this year, the Rockets' prospect looked bleak. With a 9-game gauntlet coming up against the best teams in the NBA, I had predicted that Houston might not even make the playoffs if they struggled. Instead, they won 7 of the 9, mainly due to the exploits of none other than James Harden. For the past 14 games, James Harden has been on a run that few others have equaled in the history of the NBA, averaging 40.3 points, 7.1 rebounds, 9.4 assists, 1.9 steals, all while shooting 40% from 3. He has simply carried an undermanned team, missing their third best scorer as well. His ability to hit his man with a crazy dribble combination and get into the lane puts an incredible amount of pressure on the defense, as well as the real fear of putting him on the line. Add to that his incredible skill at step-back three-pointers, and you've got a scorer unlike any we've seen. But it's also his playmaking that sets up his teammates for easy scores that gets him into the pantheon of all-time great players. Nowhere was this more evident than his incredible clutch performance against the defending champion Warriors, who thought they were going to walk away with a victory until Harden erupted for 11 points in the overtime and the game-winning three-pointer over 2 players. Last night, the Milwaukee Bucks tried a novel approach at defense, forcing him to the right and into the lane, and while they were able to generate fantastic shots all night long, it appeared to throw them off their rhythm enough that his teammates couldn't convert the easy shots, and Harden himself got stuck making completely uncharacteristic, unforced turnovers. Factoring in the presence of Eric Gordon and Chris Paul, and I really doubt this would work in a 7-game series when there's time to adjust. And let's not forget, he did go off for 42 points and 6 assists, but turned it over 9 times, so keep your eye on this. For all his brilliance on the court, he is just as polarizing a player, as many cannot stand the way he has manipulated the rules in his favor. In order to better understand what he's doing and how far he's pushing the envelope, I brought in Ronnie Nunn, who was an NBA referee for 19 years, head of officials for 5, and director of development for 3 more. Well, Ronnie, let's talk a little bit about what's happening while James Harden is attacking the basket and how he's become so, I suppose is the word provocative, going to the hoop and being able to draw fouls.
Yeah, he is a provocateur of body language and body behavior on the floor. And yes, if we look at this first clip, you can see on a drive to the hoop, he knows how to search out players with extended arms. Now, this is a different type of gather going to the hoop than we have on the perimeter. What we don't allow on the perimeter, we do allow on drives to the hoop. If you have the ball in one hand and the ball has come to rest and you're part of the gather, and now as you go to put it to the other hand, there's a foul, that is still a continuation to the hoop, and it is a 2-shot foul. So difference on the perimeter, difference on the in the key area driving to the hoop, as you can see right now. There's a guy extending his arm, and actually Harden does not have 2 hands on it yet. Yet everybody knows this is a 2-shot foul because the dribble has ended and the gather has been initiated.
Well, let's transition to a different type of foul that he's also notorious for that people get really upset with, is the clenching of the arm and the pulling up when the defender's not ready. And those are the shots that don't really look like shots either that people get upset about. So we're in Portland, and he's going against Aminu here. Walk us through how this works and why this is a foul and why this is 2 shots.
Well, this is the same type of situation where a defender reaches out, and what we've got to watch out now with Harden is that he doesn't overextend the legal parameters of the game. And some players actually, with off-ball action, will actually clamp upward and try to show that it's the defender's fault.
I agree. I think that the biggest issue here is that players have tended to get really used to being able to put their hand on the driver's waist and not that to be a foul. And I think what the genius of what Harden is doing is that he's able to pull so quickly that now what used to be sort of just an arm bar or even a hand check or even less than a hand check, it won't be fouled, is now he's got his hand in the cookie jar and it looks terrible and the referees kind of have to. And I think the point I just want to make sure we're clear on is that he does not have to have both hands on the ball in a gather to be considered a shot when you're in the lane going to the basket.
That is, I cannot say it any better, Coach. That is excellent explanation on what this is about. And, it's players are saying, hey, listen, I got the arm bar on a play going to the hoop. It's about rerouting or impeding. But onto the hoop, we don't call hand check fouls if the player stays consistent. But Harden goes, oh, really? Well, guess what I've got? I've got something that's going to force you to blow a whistle. And he gets that arm under the extended arm from the armpit to the elbow, and he makes use of that play being on him, even though it wasn't a foul. Now he's created a foul for himself, and guess what? It is legal, because I don't know how to legislate something that would be illegal about that. The defense has to make the change.
Well, let's jump over to a game when he played against the Bulls, and he was driving to his right, and another similar idea without an arm clench, but we do see this provocative initiating contact into a defender who might not be in perfect legal guarding position. So if we can look at this for a second, what do you think about this drive and whether or not this is a legit foul that should be called on Markkanen for the Bulls?
Well, you know what it is? Harden gets behind the defender's arm. And as long as he's behind the defender's arm, he can get that defender's arm when he goes to gather. He can go through that defender to show that I'm going to take this left-handed hand and get it over to my right hand for a gather. And hence the two-shot foul going to the hoop. The key for defenders now has got to do two things. One, get your hands up very high on cutters. And you got to see him as a cutter, really, except he's a cutter with the ball. Or you've got to keep your elbow and everything so tight to your body that he can't get in between the appendage of the bicep and your body. If he can't get in there, then he doesn't deserve the foul.
Absolutely. Well, against the Lakers, he drove the Lakers fans crazy all game. And we had one where Chris Webber was vehement saying it was not a foul. But I wanted to talk about this because it's also another drive where he is able to, find contact against the defender. And tell us what you think about this call and whether it was a legit foul.
Okay, first and foremost, let's make sure we understand each other. This is a foul. It is as long as the day is long, and it's as long as basketball's been played. What a defender has to do when he's defending a guy, and he already started leaning towards where he wanted him to drive. So he's giving him that path. Well, when the player takes that path, guess what? You've got to get your knee out of that area. And again, Harden targets that knee and pops right over it, thigh to thigh, and you have a defensive block because you have not beat him to the spot. You have not gotten perpendicular. And you could have ridden with him across this lane kind of drive if you got your leg out of the way. Well, you didn't do it in time, and that hence is a foul. It is a defensive blocking foul all day, all night long.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ronnie, for breaking that down for us. And I think that we got a little bit deeper understanding of what's going on here and what makes Harden so unique to the point where he might be one of the most impactful players ever to play the game because so much has to change around the way he is working the game.
And he has. He's done some incredible things. Some of these things I've seen before on inner city basketball at the Harlem Record Tournament many years ago. It was done a lot by forwards. But it wasn't done at this level at guard play. Yeah, and you know what? He's a left-hander. And you know what they say about left-handers is that unique intellect piece that goes into an art form sometimes. And he is part of that category. And he has done a great job doing it.
And you know what? That is perfectly said. He is an artist out there, and we're all better off for being entertained by what he is doing out there and pushing the boundaries. We have another part coming up to go over even more of what James Harden is doing on the floor that make it provocative and exploitative and even entertaining and thrilling. So, Ronnie, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with part 2. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBallBreakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? You in, Ronnie?
I'm in, Coach. Waiting on you.
Sports fans, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you like this, give us a thumbs up. Part 2 is one click away as we discuss his 3-point fouls. You in?